Welcome back to Madame Tortuga's Lounge with your host, the neurodivergent, mentally ill, non-binary, polypan, pagan Pisces, Dottie the Psychic, a Metro Valley Pagan Pride affiliate.
Hello, my dotlings, and welcome to another shameless self-promotion right here on Madame Tortuga's Lounge. I wanted to say an extra thank you to Norvill for coming on. You are such an amazing person, and I enjoyed this conversation even as it rattled my bones. We got in pretty deep in this conversation, but what we didn't talk about, we talked about what was going on in Minnesota, but what we didn't talk about what was going on here. And I think this may actually have happened in the interim between shooting and actually getting sat down to edit and try to get it out today. It's President's Day, and I want to try and get it out just as my little sticking it to the man. Because it is Black History Month. But what happened was, for about 2 weeks, ICE terrorized our communities. If you weren't afraid, then you're stupid. 650 people got picked up out of their lives, no matter what was going on, and it had already been going on because a person had actually, who came in for a reading, had told me that one of her cooks had been picked up by ICE well before this happened. So, but this was the ICE moving in and doing what it does. 650 people. Some of them are getting out now. They have to petition the courts, but the judges are holding up the Constitution and not allowing people to be just illegally taken from our streets. I'm not going to sit here and argue about whether ICE takes people who are illegally here or not. They don't care. And also, I don't care if people here are here legally or not. I think our Constitution applies to everybody. And everybody is due process. Everybody has a right to due process. That's what makes us American. And just, I will get upset. I will get upset. I'm going to try and link an article that the Mountaineer Spotlight did. It was bad. We all knew it was going on. I don't know what else to say. I just felt like, with especially the topic of the conversation and the fact that it happened in this window of time, that I needed to say it happened, because it fucking happened. 650 people. No rhyme or reason. And I'm sure some of you are going to point to the fact that some of them were criminals. Like 8. And I don't care how they got here. I don't care if they've got the right paperwork done or not. I really could not give 2 single shits. And I think it is so just anti-Appalachian to care if somebody's right with the government. On principle, but also, like, you are forfeiting your Irish pride card. Because I know our ancestors, so many of us, if you've got Irish in you, the red hair and the blue eyes, then you know your great-great-grandmother came over on the potato boat fleeing a genocide. I'm going to leave it there because we want to focus on Norvill and his part in the civil rights movement. He has been active in working for civil rights and so many good things. since he was a teenager in California in the 60s. So, take it away, Norvill.
I live in Richwood, West Virginia. I came here in 2001 as a result of a grant from ARC and West Virginia Department of Education. Okay, Governor Wise gone to a governor's conference, I guess, the year before, within months of him being sworn in. And at that conference was Colin Powell making a presentation about what was then called Power Up. Power Up was a network of community technology center that he had started in, I'm going to say probably 94, 95, and they were predominantly along the East Coast and the West Coast. And they wanted to move them into off the coast. They wanted it to get what I call the Mississippi, Missouri, Ohio River valleys. Okay, they wanted to come inland. Wise loved it. Wise technology consultant, who later became his technology czar, his name was Keith Comstock. The Comstock family was from Richwood, West Virginia. Their dad was probably one of the largest government contractors in the state of West Virginia during that time, one of the largest. So they were, but Wise, rightfully so, saw the benefit of these technology centers. And so I just happened to be in Beckley. I was literally on my way from California back to Northern Virginia to help a friend set up his law office. And there's a whole story to that. Anyway, I saw this ad in the newspaper. I responded, and it's probably one of the few ads that ever ran in Richwood that went outside of the county. Okay, I happened to read it. I made a phone call, got an interview. Like in 2 weeks later, I drove to Richwood from Beckley because I was busy. I was at my mom's. Drove up, interviewed. Two of the three people that interviewed me, they both were from California. Interview went so well that, say I finished the interview, say about 1:30, they literally had called me before I even gotten back to Summersville, saying I had the job. Okay, I hadn't even driven 30 minutes. So, shortening this, myself and a local resident, Lee Kyer, retired Marine, who had an incredible amount of technical experience. We basically took over an old department store, rewired the building, and installed 20 computers. That the computers were donated from, I believe it was Dell, but the software came from Microsoft. That was their donation, but it also gave us an intro to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So I did that for about 3 or 4 years. It was reasonably successful. The reason why it closed down is because of I had never seen this type of, I'm gonna just be candid, inept government leadership in my life. Okay, I'm just being blunt.
So it just shut down.
Man, I had never seen it like this at the level that you see in West Virginia. There's a lot of great people in West Virginia. They just have really bad leadership. So did that for about 3 or 4 years. But it should have gone for, it should still be in existence, but for the fact of government leadership. We were extremely successful. We were so successful that Benedum, as well as ARC, gave us a second and third grant. We actually had won. You're going to love this. We had actually won a West Virginia Rural Development Technology grant to actually install broadband internet back in 2002. Okay. Oh yeah, Richwood has had broadband since 2002. You need to understand, here's the politics of this area. We won that award, and Verizon literally drove trucks into Richwood 2 weeks later and started installing fiber in Richwood. So I've had broadband since 2002. Okay? Yeah. In this little town of 1,500 people, we've had broadband internet since 2002. All because of the politicians and the staking out territories. God, I've seen so much corruption, it's crazy here. And so I migrated from that to teaching at New River Community Technical School College. Okay, first, and that was on accident. They knew I had the technical expertise, so I basically ran the technology office, a department, or what have you in Summersville, and I handled basically the swing shift from like 3 to 11. Okay, so shorten this, I did that for a couple of years, for about a year, and then one evening they were talking about, we need a class on, we need someone to teach criminal law and criminal procedure. I started laughing. They said, "Why are you laughing?" Well, because I've taught those classes. What do you mean? Yeah, I'm a lawyer. I was California and Virginia. Yeah, okay. So that was an easy migration. So I still continue to do technology in the evening, and I taught. And that went on from maybe 2003 to about 2000, I'm going to say 2008, 2009.
I definitely want to talk about the community work, but I want to kind of start from the beginning, because the
beginning.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know you said you worked
My
with the Black
beginning
Panther.
goes back to 1967, 1968. Okay. I am a sophomore in high school, and they bring to the county that I lived in a program called Upward Bound. Okay, federal program to work with at-risk kids and work in at-risk communities. I grew up in spite of what people think about California, I grew up in an agricultural location where that was depended a lot on migrant farm workers and a lot of people that worked in the service industries. Okay. And at that same time, you've got to remember in 66, 67, 68, you had the Black Panther Party coming into fruition. And I grew up literally just south of the next bay south of San Francisco. And I grew up in a predominantly Black and Hispanic community. And everyone knew what the police were doing in Oakland, San Francisco, and in my community, Seaside and East Palo Alto, and all of the minority communities. Okay, the Black Panther Party was the first one that said we need to organize and we need to deal with these issues. And the issues were really simple, like the things that you take for granted right now, like being able to video assaults on the street and to be there. So, and the Black Panthers, basically, that's what they were doing. They created, it was basically, they created an organization that when people were stopped or frisked or unlawfully detained in East Oakland, they were on the scene to counteract that. Because you have to understand, the Oakland Police Department and during that time it was like 98% white Irish. Okay. And probably no minorities, Hispanic or Black, on the force at that time. And that was one of the first things that they started fighting. But they also was dealing with just no access to food and education. You had kids growing up in projects where basically, as a sophomore in high school, you're seeing and know what's going on regarding civil rights. And on the East Coast, you had Martin Luther King and all those, and everybody was saying turn the cheek and peaceful protests and all of that. You got a group saying screw that. Okay. We know our rights, they're being violated, and we want redress. We want to do something about this. You have to also remember at the same time, they had a young woman who was a full professor at UC Berkeley named Angela Davis. Okay? Very articulate, and very progressive in her thought and her approach to civil rights. Okay? You've probably heard of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. It was basically started in Atlanta with people that you probably heard of, Andrew Young and others. But it was like, okay. But when they came to Oakland, people in Oakland were like, man, stop. Okay? Keep all that stuff on the other side of the Mississippi. No, we've got real issues, and we have people who are literally trained to deal with these issues. Okay? Angela Davis was the first person I ever met who literally knew how to organize communities. Okay? And you had and Oakland was a powder keg at that time. There were there were so many reports of deadly encounters with the police department, stops, everything that you're seeing now, you can magnify it. But Angela Davis' approach was that, look, we need to do things to bolster our communities. The first thing we have to get better at is education. So guess what they started? Daycare and feeding programs. Early morning, all the stuff that you see now, like in West Virginia, you take for granted. Say, for example, breakfast and lunch being offered at your school, whatnot. That was new, and that was and Angela Davis, Eldridge Cleaver's wife, I forget her name, and other women led those programs. So,
So these are people you've met.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've probably met them more often than I've ever seen you. Okay.
Fair enough.
I've known you for what, 3 or 4 years now?
Something like that.
these are the people that came to my communities and helped develop things. They helped they set up daycare, and because you got to remember, we had people going to lettuce fields at 4 a.m, okay, leaving their kids at home with their 11 and 12-year-old brothers and sisters that did not know, and they were trying to fix breakfast and that sort of thing. Because I grew up in ag community, all right? That means you had to be in those fields at 5 o'clock in the morning when the sun went up, because you had to be out of those fields before noon, because at noon, it's too hot to be in those fields, okay? So you're talking about 3,000 Black and brown people picking lettuce, planting lettuce, okay? Artichokes, broccoli, corn, peas, all of that, all right? They were doing, because look, Cesar Chavez, I've seen that man speak about 16, 17 times, okay? When they started the migrant farm workers started in Monterey County, all right? So this is not new. I'm living through all of this. I'm seeing all of this. I know people involved in it, and I know despite what the press is telling you, there were a lot of people, Black and brown, who were intimately involved in early morning breakfast programs, daycare, and then after school tutoring, all of that. For example, I told you about Upward Bound. I participated in Upward Bound probably, my God, my sophomore, junior, senior years in high school in the summers. Then once I was in college, I would come home and I would work in the same programs for about another 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I've been involved. So that's the only attorney I met in my life was a legal aid attorney. Okay, I didn't know what attorneys were doing. I didn't know anything about the law. All I just knew that there were these things going on, and there were attorneys that were working on these issues, like Urban Marshall and and others. But that's all you know. What I was more interested in is how can I come back and help in my community.
So I know that you went from doing that, you went to law school, but didn't you spend some time in Washington?
Yeah, that's where I went to law school. I went to law school in Washington, D.C. Yeah. I graduated from college in Oregon. But by that time, I kind of knew from conversations that I had with the Angela Davis case really kind of gave me, okay, this is where I want to go. Okay. So I was accepted because I went to college in Oregon. So I was accepted at Willamette University School of Law. I was accepted at Southwestern in LA. I was put on the waiting list at UC Berkeley. I was accepted at American in DC, and I was accepted at Catholic in DC. I was born in DC, so I was like, man, I don't want to see what this town is about. So, and my mother lived in West Virginia, so I chose DC. Hell, I was accepted in law school in Oregon. Shoot, before I had even finished the first month of my senior year in college. Okay, yeah, I was in a real early admission. Okay, and so I was, and let me just give it an aside on this. I score lousy on standardized tests. I was not accepted Stanford because Stanford said you have great grades academically, but your SAT score is just like horrendous. Okay, we can't help. No, you got to take it over again. Oh, yeah, I'm not taking this thing over again. Freaking crazy. I literally sat in a class in law school in DC at American, and the teacher, the professor, literally said, anybody that has an SAT score lower than this will never pass my class. Not only did I pass his class, I got the freaking highest grade in his class. And you know what I told him as the grades were over? Oh, you know that comment you made about SAT scores? This is my score. And he turned beet red in embarrassment. Okay? Yeah.
That is funny. So I want to hear I want to hear more, because I know you and I have talked before. So I am kind of, I know I'm prompting you about your own story here, but I know that we had talked about how you were working in DC, what you were doing after,
I love this.
as part of your graduating process.
Look, I do not come from a family of affluence. Okay. All right. So after a month in DC, I knew I had to work. I just got lucky. I already had a work history because of the summer jobs and upward and everything. So when I interviewed for a job in DC, I interviewed with an organization that was, all the attorneys in there were former attorneys. They were attorneys from legal aid offices. They formed, because they had formed the first prepaid legal service office in the country. All right. And they provided to the 70,000 workers on the metro system that was being built in DC. Okay. So if you've ever rode Metro, yeah, I was there. And I worked with the law firm that provide those guys prepaid legal services. So that's what I was doing. But across the hall in that same building was the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. All right. And I worked with the legal services office, but the guy across the street hall was my buddy in law school, a black guy named Craig McLaurin. He worked for the Lawyers Committee because we both were just jocks that ended up in law school. Okay. So I was able to work on some great cases early on. But you got to remember, I had teachers that were grooming me since the 4th grade. Okay. 4th grade, I was already, myself and 20 others were already kind of like channeled on how the things that we had to achieve to go to college and to succeed.
They had plans for you.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah. One of them was a woman's name is Dr. Charlie Knight. If I'm 73, Charlie's got to be, Dr. Knight's got to be. I think she's at best, she might be, okay, 5th grade. 5th grade, you're what? 10, maybe 11. Okay, yeah, say I'm 11, so she had to be she's about 10, maybe 11 years old. She had come, she taught at my elementary school. She later became the superintendent of schools, secondary education for the state of California. And we've always had a great relationship because I was a jock. She was a jock. You know, she went to Tennessee State. She was on the Olympic team. I mean, all that kind of stuff. I grew up in that kind of environment. The way you're going to get out of your neighborhood is through sports. All right. In education. So I'm in DC. I'm in law school. I run into Dr. Knight. Leon Panetta is getting ready to start his first term as a congressman in 1976. He reaches out and says, Leon, we've got this guy from Seaside that's there, right? It's already in DC and he's in law school. I interviewed, and again, it was one of those interviews, you sit down, you start talking, He realized he's known me since I was in high school. Shoot, I was hired as I was walking out the door. Okay. All right. He said, I just got to call Charlie and tell her I saw you and that you'll start next Monday. That's how the interview went. All right. What other people didn't realize, I was also I'm the only valedictorian of that high school that looks like me in its history. And the school started in 1868. Okay. Yeah. A couple of years after the Civil War. All right. So, yeah. So, but Panetta's office was literally across the street from my high school. So I've known this man since I was in high school. So it was a very simple interview. So I worked on Capitol Hill with him for my last year in law school. All right, and we've always kept that relationship going, and it went well. Yeah. So I'm just giving you the highlights there.
All right. Can you tell us about some of the cases you worked on?
Activism. He is the one that literally sent me home from DC during Christmas break, and I literally helped in California. You have recall elections. You can recall an elected official. So I literally ran a recall campaign, started it, and then ran it from his office in DC. And so I would travel home like maybe once a month. And my father was involved. All of his buddies were involved. It was crazy. It was just crazy. Yeah. But it's good crazy. What I mean by that is community involvement. What I found, screw the party, pay attention to the issue. Because my father is ultra conservative. My father voted for freaking Proposition 13. Okay. And I was like, are you kidding me? And so, yeah, but police brutality, police overreach, violation of search and seizure, protests. He was okay with that. Okay. And that's how it went. That's the highlights. But yeah, there was a lot of day-to-day. There was a lot of knocking on doors. There were a lot of meetings in community centers. But you have to also understand something. Things that I take for granted, you guys have never seen. Never. For example, where I grew up, starting probably in the 5th grade, every Wednesday of my life, our community, our high school gym and auditorium was open to the community. So we played basketball, sports, they had community events. And that went on my entire elementary, junior high, and high school experience. And it's probably going on to some extent right now. We had churches in California. You had a lot of community meetings, that sort of things. I'm stunned at how little they work together here in communities. But I also noticed, hell, my hometown probably had more people of color than the entire state of West Virginia. So what can I tell you? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're a little bit pasty around here.
Just a little. But one of the things I learned is that community activism, some of the most aggressive people I've ever met in terms of community activism were white females. A couple of lawyers like Kunstler, but a lot of females. Okay, here's again, Linda Ronstadt, very, very, very aggressive. My 4th grade music teacher, Joan Baez, very, very active. Okay, and these people, they were well known in the music industry, but they also were in the community. always, and very vocal. Yeah.
So,
And yeah.
so, I know I keep kind of like leading you around in this, and if there's anything you want to say, we can stay on this conversation.
No, I mean,
I wanted to,
best that you ask the questions because there's just so much there. I mean,
yeah,
you guys are really
there's a lot there. Like,
I'm
I
70.
wanted
I've
to,
pretty much been involved since I was 12. Okay.
and it's amazing, and I know that because you have been involved since you were 12, and in hot spots too. What kind of advice would you give people who are scared now? Like, I know we've felt the temperature. We felt, because folks, just so you know, we tried to record this before. Part of the reason I know where I want to lead you on the conversation is because we did this before. We had audio issues. And
Right.
even since then, that was only like, what, September, November,
Yeah.
October, somewhere in there, because it was in my old office.
Right.
Even just since then, we felt the temperature rise
This
in our
is
community.
let's get to that, because what you're seeing right now with Trump and Stephen Miller and Trump and his cadre of idiots is nothing more than the recycling of Richard Nixon politics. Trust me when I say this. You have to go back and research Nixon to understand what's going on now. And also look at Nixon's vice president, Spiro Agnew. You want to talk about these guys make Trump look like he's a Boy Scout. Okay? Agnew literally was taking cash in bags. He was collecting money in bags in his office. Okay? On the Capitol, in the White, yeah, these guys were criminals. Who was Donald Trump's closest advisor? Look at the attorney Cohen and look where he comes from. He's the guy, he goes all the way back to Watergate. Okay? So you've got to just understand what they're talking about. Basically, and this is how I summarize it. There are a group of people who believe that the white male in the United States should be the dominant male, period, in the conversation. Everybody else should be subservient to them. Okay? They don't understand the economy. They don't understand that we moved from a manufacturing economy to a service economy. Corporate America and the corporations realize they have a president who's too stupid to understand that. Okay? I mean, he is trying to undo business relations that were developed in the 80s. Okay? He's trying to undo things. Look at who was the president that said we need to be doing business with China. You know who it was?
Nixon?
Ronald Reagan.
Didn't,
Right.
okay, wait a minute. Can we, I know I'm taking you back, kind of leading you around again, but didn't you get fired? Was it Nixon or Reagan that got, it was Ronald Reagan that fired you?
Yes. Now you have to remember my background. I have never seen lawyers. All I knew was community activism and community law. So there were when I'm in law school, there was a program it was headed by the Reginald Heber Smith Foundation. And their goal was to hire 100 attorneys whose goals was to work in their communities to help on the bigger issues like truth in lending violations, unfair housing, employment discrimination, all of that, right? And God. So I was picked in the second group. I graduated from law school in 77, and I was in this program went from 76 to 1980. Okay. Reagan gets sworn in, and the first thing he's literally our organization, he was sworn in on what? January the 20th, 1981. I was fired 3 hours after he was sworn in. And with a hurt little note is that attorneys, government-funded organizations or organizations receiving federal funds should not have the ability to sue or assist citizens in seeking redress against federal agencies.
Good God.
Okay? Yeah. Guess what's the outgrowth of that? The Inspector General's office. Okay? Because they had to come up with something, right? So an Inspector General, basically, we were kind of like an ad hoc Inspector General. The cases I worked on, for example, even though I was in Richmond, Virginia, I worked on the lawsuit against Donald Trump's dad for housing discrimination in the 5 boroughs of New York. And they needed and you have to understand, I was receiving special training while in this program. So I actually spent like 2 or 3 months in Cleveland at Case Western on advanced courses in how to research documents, how to collect data. Because you have to remember, we're talking 70s, so computers were around, but you had to do a lot of stuff. You had to learn how to literally go to the room, and you had to go through files, and you had to learn how to pull data, and you had to learn all these kind of things. But I had been introduced to computers in 1967, 66, 67. Anyway, I became one of the experts in accumulating data and putting it together in a coherent fashion for it to be used in litigation. All right. And so I did that on truth in lending, housing discrimination, both New York and New Jersey. Look, research why Kushner married his daughter. They're the two sleaziest slumlords in the Northeast. Okay? Families. And they have been for decades. Kushner's dad was just like Donald Trump's dad, a slumlord. Okay?
Wow.
You just gotta know what you're looking for. And you have to and one of the beauties of what I learned is that you've got to learn how to ignore media, especially now. You have to know that what you're seeing is a sanitized version of the news. Okay? Forget that concept that it's unfiltered. It's heavily filtered. Okay? So you have to just learn how to research. You have to learn how to extrapolate information. You're going to have to learn how to compare information with what you're seeing and what you're finding versus what is being told to the general public. Okay? And because we beat the living crap out of Donald Trump's dad. Got like a $40 million judgment. You know what Trump's dad does when he walks out the courtroom? He looks at the press and he simply says, "We won," and kept going. What did the press report? That he won. Okay? They never went through the paperwork and looked at literally what the decision said. Because if they did, they would have reported it. Okay? Oh, I could give you, man. Look, people like to talk about the guys that exposed Watergate as the pinnacle of
Journalism.
journalism. Not close. Not even close. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. See, there's so much. Okay, I'm going to give you examples. Where do you think was the longest running busing discrimination or school desegregation case in the country? You'll be surprised.
The longest?
Yeah. The longest running.
Illinois?
Nope. Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like
You would think it would be in the South or the Midwest. Not even close. Not even close. Boston is one of the most segregated cities in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah, but that kind of stuff is not reported. And you have to learn how to dig for that information. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You just have to learn. And so, and that's what I learned. I learned to ignore the headlines and go and dig deeper. Okay. Woodward and Bernstein, they did a good job, but they would not have been able to do that job but for Deep Throat. Because these guys were floundering around. Because don't forget, I'm in law school at that time. I'm in DC. Okay? And if Deep Throat he should get the national, whatever awards we can give out as the greatest defender of democracy, that person should get it. Okay? Seriously. Because he had to lead those guys by the head. And sometimes he literally had to grab them by the nose and say, go this way. Okay? You're going down the wrong tunnel. This one over here. Yeah, if you've never read that book, read it. Okay?
That's interesting.
People, okay, let's talk about something that a lot of people are talking about right now. And that is, why aren't Black and brown people out there on the front lines in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, in Atlanta, in North Carolina, in New Orleans, in all of these hot spots in Portland, Oregon? Because you have to remember, I went to college 30 miles southwest of Portland. I know what Portland is like. Hell, my best friend, my roommate since our freshman year, lives in Portland. Okay? Why are there not a lot of Black and brown people out there? You know why? Let's cut to the chase. Because we've been told we would be stupid. That's what Trump wants. He wants an insurrection. He wants to see people burning up buildings so that he can say the bringing troops in is justified. What they're doing in Minneapolis, throwing bologna and apples and oranges at the vehicles and blowing whistles, is appropriate. And it's the correct tactic. Don't stop that. But don't be dismayed if you don't see Black and brown people out there. The reason is because if I see my cousin getting arrested, I'm going to put my hands on somebody. That's what Trump wants. He wants Black and brown people to start burning up neighborhoods. Okay? That's what Stephen Miller wants. And we're smart enough to realize we're not going down that road, dummy. Okay?
That makes sense. It really does. I know.
Yeah. So don't be disappointed. Just understand that we understand the tactic. Look, what you're seeing and experiencing now, I've experienced every day of my freaking life growing up. This is nothing new. Do you understand that in the summers when I come to West Virginia and visit and we got ready to drive back across the country, okay, my grandparents had to cook 3 or 4 chickens, make huge pans of potato salad. We'd have to literally put coolers on the floorboards of the car because we knew we're not going to be able to stop and eat until we got to Oklahoma. Yeah, could not use a public facility, could not do anything. Use the bathroom on the side of the freaking road, all of that. And I experienced that when I was like 5 until I was like 14 or 15. Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
So even though like, because I'm honestly terrified. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend.
But you're doing the right thing.
I'm trying. You know what? The best thing I can do is invite people who have already been in that situation to speak on my podcast. So I definitely want to thank you for being on.
You're doing the right things. The thing is, don't engage. Blow whistles, throw rotten produce at their vehicles, but don't engage, because engaging and burning something is exactly what Trump wants. Wear funny costumes. The people in Portland got it down to a science. Wear funny costumes, okay? Make it look like it's a party.
I know her mocking fascism.
Mock them. I saw like a couple of days ago, because I try to watch what's going on in Minneapolis, and these people are great. There was this woman that literally walked up to an ICE officer and started singing this funny little song, and just laughing while she's singing. What can he do? Try to arrest her? She's doing nothing to incite this man. She's ridiculing, but she's not inciting anything. That's the key. See, we've learned from burning our own neighborhoods down, because we know what's going to happen. No one's going to come back in to rebuild. Ask the people of Newark, New Jersey. Ask the people of Compton. Ask the people of Watts. Okay? Ask the people of Bayshore and Hunters Point in San Francisco. All right? But you want a good example of how to do it? I call it organized civil disobedience. And the tactics that are being used now are ingenious. They're great. The whole key is do not engage. Right?
Right.
Use humor, turn it into a block party. Portland and Seattle, why do you think he's pulled out of Portland and Seattle? Okay? Because what you have to pay attention to the optics. Okay, I'm going to give you, see, these are the things that my community has learned. So we've had riots in Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose. We've had all of those, right?
Right.
And guess what? And every time we burned up our own neighborhoods. The day that Dan White shot Harvey Milk and Mayor Moscone in San Francisco, and the gay community rioted, you want to know the difference? They weren't in the community, they went downtown. Okay?
Do you think some of that was like, because I've heard of I guess what they're called are ops, or people that will like kind of get in a movement just to break it down.
Yes. Yeah. You want to give examples? Just look at the number of people that infiltrated the NAACP that were Black, and brown and Jewish to go after Martin Luther King. Look at the number of people that have infiltrated the Nation of Islam. Okay, the number of people that infiltrated all the movements of the '60s. Okay, the Black Party, Black Panther Party, and that sort of thing. But then you also have to flip at some of the other things. Okay, take for example Patty Hearst. Are you familiar with what happened with her? And the Simonese Liberation Army.
ADHD. I remember hearing this story, but I can't recount it.
Okay, this woman, Patty Hearst, who went to high school around the corner from where I went to high school.
I'm sorry about that. Okay,
no, that's all right. You heard my dog in the background, and this is rare. And the only reason why she is not making a whole lot of noise is because my girlfriend Jeannie is in the other room doing something, and so she has another distraction. Okay. Okay, listen. Civil disobedience is an art form. You have to study it just like anything else. You have to study what's good and what's effective and what's not effective. Okay? And you have to articulate that to your community. Minneapolis, those people are well educated and well informed, and their tactics are extremely sound. The tragedy, because believe me, that guy that shot Good will be prosecuted. Be it not in the United States, but in the world fucking court. Attorneys will take him to The Hague. Okay? And you have to understand all of the things that are in place. You want to know who's going to do some jail time? Stephen Miller. Okay? All of those idiots surrounding Trump. Look at that attorney Hallahan, the female that he appointed as the prosecutor for the Northern District of Virginia. She's being threatened with disbarment. She's been told by the judge, get the fuck out of here. Okay? You're not capable of handling these cases. All right? So pay attention to what's actually happening. Forget what you read by the sanitized news of Fox, CNN, ABC, and all of those. Just pay attention to the actions. Okay? Because the press is not going to be on your side for years. For years. Okay? Black people have been getting Martin Luther King. I need you to grab a concept. Martin Luther King was vilified through the 80s. Okay? Quit thinking that this country loved him in 1968 when he got shot. No. They did not. The same with Kennedy. Okay? Robert Kennedy. Why are they being honored now? Because people persevered. People kept these issues in front of the country. All right? And it made it part of the social conscience. All right? And the fear, Donnie, the biggest fear that white males have right now is education and information. Okay? Look at how they're trying to control the internet. Do you still, I rarely use X or Twitter, but have you ever noticed if any issue that is salient to the national discourse, how quickly Elon Musk writers flood that channel with BS and bullshit.
Yeah, that's
That's planned. That is to keep you distracted and uninformed. So you have to learn how to find your information. I read the BBC. I watch no national news unless it's about it's about the weather. I don't trust, and it's not that I don't trust it. I just know it's been heavily sanitized.
well, even the weather has been messed with, hasn't it? Like I know they talked about privatizing that, which
yeah. So you have to learn. I PBS. Thank God they're still in existence. NPR. Thank God they're still in existence. I need you to think about something, Donnie. They're trying to shut down NPR. Okay? National Public Radio. You want to know how most people in the Midwest get their weather reports?
NPR,
Exactly.
because they want to keep us stupid. They want us to be stupid. So this actually brings me to like two questions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have definitely seen, like, of course, Black people taking a step back, but what can white people, what can we do?
Black people have not really taken a step back. But okay, what you can do, Donnie, you're doing it. You're talking to me. And you're still staying engaged. Okay? Just understand what tactics you're using and the ramifications of those tactics. Okay? Minneapolis and Portland should be replicated. Okay? Make sure that your protests are in such a way that you don't incentivize these goons called ICE into overreacting. Because you have to understand, have you seen that they dummy down the entrance requirements for ICE?
Yes, I've seen that.
There's a reason for that. Okay? So you should not be involved in saying to the person, hey, are you a Proud Boy? No, you don't want to incite that kind of conversation. Okay? You just want to say, hey, can I get your number? Look, take a picture, get their badge numbers, get their vehicle license numbers, those sorts of things, so that you can start collecting data for the litigation. Because there will be litigation. Okay? Number two, continue to engage, but engage in a way that minimizes your chances of becoming Miss Good. Okay? Because they're going to use having that vehicle in the middle of the road, perpendicular to the road at the beginning, and they're going to slice and dice everything around it or prolong that picture so that the optic is that she was inciting discourse. Okay? They've already started it. They did it from the moment that it occurred. Kristi Noem was on. How in the hell can you, as the Secretary of Homeland Security, be saying that your officer was justified in that action 15 minutes before they even said they were going to start an investigation? Okay?
Yeah.
That's a red flag. That they're already trying to sanitize this.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely, oh my God, I've definitely seen this. It's actually led to uh, the arguments among people I actually know because they kind of drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. Don't forget, a lot of people that was at Jim Jones facility were people of color. Okay. From the Bay Area.
Wow, yeah, they were. Um,
And guess what? And the congresswoman that was shot there, she's still in Congress. This is going to be her last term. She's finally going to retire. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're talking about is not new. The country has always had this push and pull. Look, Dottie, just look, and then you also have to look at the history of civil rights. And when I'm talking civil rights, I'm not just talking about black and brown. I'm talking black and brown and women. Okay? And look at suffrage. Women's suffrage. Do you realize that women were asking to be written into and given the vote 15 years before the Declaration of Independence? Before the Constitution was signed? Did you know that?
I did not.
Between the Declaration of Independence and the signing of the Constitution, one is 1796 and the other one was 1776 or something. Like, it did 20 years. Women has been asking for the vote that entire time. Jefferson's wife was writing letters. Martha, all of these people were asking for a more perfect union. But it was so white male dominated. And that's the fear. Okay? Just look at our wars. Look at everything. Look at the real reasoning behind Vietnam protests. Okay? Just look. What Trump's afraid of right now is that his constituents are adamant about, you're not sending my son or daughter out of this country to fight a war against people that have their own set of problems, and we don't benefit. What's the cost benefit for us being in Venezuela or in the Middle East? Okay? Especially when we're providing F-35 fighters to Saudi Arabia, our best weaponry to them, and we're not even giving that to the Israelis? Are you serious? You see, so Daddy, what's your fear? That you're going to go out there and get shot?
I guess my fear is not that I'm going to get shot, that honestly, because I'm out here, I'm running my mouth on the internet, so more reasonable fear, like an honest to God things I've sat with fear is that I will pop up on the radar of somebody who is local and very Trumpetarian and have to deal with it here in my community. And the potential for violence. We know, and I love I'm not gonna say they're talking shit about West Virginia, but we know everybody knows somebody with a pig farm or a mine shaft, and I am a little afraid to just.
Dottie, I live 30 miles, within 30 miles of two, not one, two survivalists camps, both in Pocahontas County.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Known by the FBI what they are about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we know.
And there's very few people in Richwood who look like me. But let me tell you how integration really works. Okay?
Okay.
Quit reading the optics and just pay attention to what your eyes see. I came to Richwood, and there may have been a total of 3 mixed race kids in that school. You know what the percentage is now at Richwood High School? About 25%. Okay? In the elementary school, it's more like 35%. All right? So you want to know how integration works? Hey, Jenny, my girlfriend. You want to know how it works? Oh, come here. Okay. You want to know how it works? Dottie, see this woman right here? Just come here. You see her? That's my significant other. I've been with her since what? 2009. Okay. We raised
Congratulations.
3 girls. They're her children. They don't look like me, but they call me dad.
What's Krista say?
Yeah.
What's Krista say?
Yeah. Okay.
I think she got from me with the bottom of her
She
feet
look-
or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Don't get it.
I mean, her daughter's father, and I know them. Okay. They're white, but they don't think that way. And she has watched this community go from what? When you were in high school, maybe 2 or 3 people of color to what? There's like 25% now. Okay. That's integration. And it's led by women. Okay. 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 All right. I'll see it. Okay. That's their fear. And I've heard, and see, because I'm in the recovery community, I can say this. So I can be at meetings and I'll see some grandfather coming in railing. Okay, I don't have to say names, and he's going off. And I just start laughing. He says, "Why are you laughing?" No, I said, "It's simple. You can be upset all you want. Your wife don't care if that kid is green with orange polka dots. That's her grandchild. And guess what? That child comes in that house, she's going to treat it like your grandchild. And guess what? You can find the freaking couch and you can start preparing your own meals. Okay? And guess what happens in that meeting? He shuts the fuck up. Because he knows it's the truth. Okay? Women have no idea the power. They have never realized and actualized their power. We should have had 2 female presidents. Easily. Okay? And no offense, Hillary was the president in his terms. They both went to Oxford. I guarantee you, she tutored his ass. Okay? All right? But women have to, when you guys realize your power and use it, okay? The best example, look, you want a master class on civil disobedience? Go to the Castro in San Francisco and sit down in any cafe and talk to the first 5 gay people you meet. You will learn civil disobedience immediately. They've got it down to a science. Yes, they're very, very, very good at it. They're the best in the country. Yeah, really. Dottie, what you've run into in West Virginia is they have kept the West Virginia populace so uninformed as to what's going on outside of their little neighborhood or sphere that they are not really understanding what's going on in the United States. Yeah, there's a lot of activism. Let's put it this way. As you, I guarantee you there are more Hispanics and more people that are here in the United States illegally in San Francisco than all of the freaking East Coast. Okay? Dottie, in San Francisco, this thing is so organized. Immigration and migrant work is so organized. They can literally get picked up on Friday, put on a bus in San Francisco, and they will beat the damn bus. Be taken to the Mexican border, and they will beat the bus back to San Francisco. Okay? So all of this stuff that you're seeing, a lot of it is a charade. All right? Ronald Reagan, they're the leader of this whole movement of the Republican Party about this white elitism. You know what his position was on immigration and migrant work? You know what it was? Bring them in, let them work, tax them, because they're going to leave anyway. It's not like they're trying to stay here forever. They're not. The Hispanics, if you ever sit down and talk to them, they were on a 10-year plan. They come here, send money home, right? 10 years later, grandma has accumulated all that money and they bought the farm or the ranch, okay? Now they might have to pay a cartel for buying their produce. But hey, I'm not worried about Mexican or Honduran politics, okay? Because this country was always built on cheap or slave labor. Always. And that's what they know. And they're having a hard time adjusting from that model. So that's what you're seeing. Okay? They thought they could do it with technology. You know, the best, I'm in agriculture. Okay? I farm the way that Europeans farm. United States, Big Ag farms differently. Big Ag is in trouble. Why are they in trouble? Because the very labor force that they count on is now being terrorized. Okay, that's number one. And number two, the same people that build their combines are now sending that equipment to Argentina, Brazil, and China, and they're doing it cheap, and their costs are lower than ours. So when they tell you that the price of soy has gone down, has dropped, yeah, you know what's dropped? But hey, guys, let's talk about why it really dropped. Because the labor costs in Brazil are lower than the labor costs here. Okay? A lot of this stuff is not new, Donnie. It's just being recycled, and because it never was properly vetted and discussed openly by our press for the last 40 years, 50 years. And Donnie, don't think that you're alone. I have a good friend in California. His name is Robert Chenier. His brother played basketball. I grew up playing basketball against his younger brother, and his brother went on to have a professional career with Baltimore. And his brother still lives and works in Baltimore. He has a daughter named Tamika Chenier. Very bright, very intelligent girl. So misinformed, it's crazy. Went to Catholic schools, lived a nice little charmed life, studied in Europe, traveled Europe, came back and started working in the community, right? Totally out of her element, literally. Did not understand the politics of San Francisco, did not understand nonprofits, did not understand how revenues work, how the city literally worked. I'm saying all of this to say, literally, because I've been trying to assist her over the last year and a half, in a wrongful termination matter. Okay, Dottie? It's like she grew up in a bubble. I spent 5 years in a facility at Delancey Street in San Francisco, one of the leading nonprofits in the country. Okay, help people turn their lives, but they also taught me the business side of it. We used to, Donnie, you remember I talked to you about the Castro in San Francisco? Well, guess what? I used to run Delancey Street's Christmas tree lot that was located in the Castro. For 3 straight years, I generated more than 1.3 to 1.5 million in Christmas tree sales in a 29-day period. Okay? I'm talking about a nonprofit that generated 43 million, a nonprofit that generated 45 million annually. Okay? There, and guess what? In all of this, and all of us, we're recovering addicts and alcoholics. Okay? You gotta just, and this woman literally admitted to me on the phone, oh, I've been there. I said, yeah, did you ever go in the theater? Yeah. Well, guess what? You ever see the movie with Dustin Hoffman where he played the female? I forget the name of it. Dottie, what I was getting at, they have this facility run and operated by recovering addicts has a 250-seat theater that was designed and built by John Lucas. Okay? Of Star. Yeah. Oh, Dottie, it gets better than that. Okay? They run all of the dailies. Any movie or TV show shot in Northern California, they're dailies. Every time they shoot, that day, the Screen Actors Guild sends those dailies to this facility for them to be run and sanitized and cleaned up, okay? It isn't at a facility run by dope baby, okay? Yeah. Oh, Dottie, it gets better than that. They have, you know what I used to do as punishment when I first got there? I used to serve mimosas on Sundays to Sharon Stone and her husband, and Danny Glover on occasion. Okay?
That's wild.
Yeah. Okay? So I'm just trying to explain to you that there's another world out there than what you're seeing in West Virginia. Okay? There are a lot of people that are well-meaning and well-engaged. Sharon, you want to know one of the most active persons involved in civil disobedience? Sharon Stone. Yes. She makes half of the Chicago 8 look like they're conservative compared to her. Okay? There is a lot of people that are very active and very concerned about this country and where it's going, and they're just stunned by what they're seeing in the mid, what I call the people that live between the Ohio and Missouri rivers. Okay? When I came here, I honestly did not realize how uninformed middle of America was and how little information, but I also understand how it's been funneled. Have you ever heard of Sinclair Communications?
Yes.
Pay attention to that. I got pissed off with the Democratic Party in Trump's first freaking term when he allowed Sinclair Communications to purchase 235 radio, TV, and broadcasting facilities. And guess where they're all located? In the area that I just described.
Rural America.
Rural, yes.
So we are, I'm sure if we're not fully around an hour, we've passed it.
Yes, yes. What should you do in your community? Okay, where, you don't mind me asking, do you live in Charleston?
I live in Clendenin.
Clendenin, perfect, because I know Clendenin. Okay, in Clendenin. On your street, how many people in your street think like you? That's where you first start. That's where you first start. Pay attention to people in Minnesota. What did they say? We know all our neighbors on this street. We have block parties. We share information. You don't have to agree politically. You just have to protect your neighborhood. Say, if you see anything untoward, don't have to come out and engage. Just blow a whistle. The rest of us will come to our porches and blow whistles. Okay? Simple as that. In my neighborhood, when I was growing up in the 60s, if we saw something, you go to your porch, and you stand there. What's going on? And you just yelling up and down the street because you know everybody on the street. Where I grew up, you know everybody in your neighborhood. This is the first time, Dottie, I kid you not. When I moved into my house, I went across the street and talked to my neighbor across the street and I said, hey, look, I travel a lot and sometimes I come home late. If you see anything, just call the police. Oh no, I don't get involved like that. What? Really? Really? That's your attitude about your neighborhood? It's no longer a neighborhood. It's just your place of residence. You got to develop a neighborhood. That's the first. Have block parties. Share information. The beauty of Northern California, where I grew up, my father, I worked for Leon Panetta, right? Panetta was listed as a Democrat. He's only a Democrat because he had left the Republican Party just before that because of Nixon. But his politics had never changed. He was more conservative than fucking Manchin. But he understood the needs of his community and the people and allowed and represented them. Not just first you have to get your representatives to not just represent ideals, they need to represent the community. Okay? That's what you want. I'm tired, man, I don't want to hear what you think you're going to do and what you would like to. I don't want to hear your freaking agenda. These are the issues that we need solved. Solve them. Or help us get out of the way and let us solve them. Remember I told you the beauty of a referendum? When Panetta sent me home, my dad and his buddies said, we got to get rid of the mayor. What? Yeah, you're going to start the paperwork right now on a recall. Then he got all of his buddies and they hit doors, passing out information. We had community meetings on a weekly basis. This is why we have to get rid of this clown. Hey, Dottie?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I went through my phone. Okay, so you're getting me on my phone and my computer. What I'm going to do, they paired. Okay, I'm going to make this short. Dottie, I've given you a lot of information, and there's a more, but trying to be succinct. You're doing the right things. You're doing the right thing. You really are. Getting engaged is a long-term investment of your time and resources. And unfortunately, you live in a state that has kind of um, tamped it down on civil engagement. They just have. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't develop your own tactics and stay engaged. There are a lot of good examples going on right now how to engage. Minneapolis, Portland, perfect. Those people, I watch them I watch them and I'm just, and I go like, yeah, you get it. Yeah. You know, and if you notice, pay attention to them. Pay attention to what they really do. When they know ICE is coming in the neighborhood, they tell the kids, they tell the parents, don't send your kids to school. We'll bring you food. Don't leave your home. They do all of these. That's the type of engagement that destroys people like Trump and Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem. Okay?
So I've got one last question.
Okay.
I know that the last time we talked, you were involved in a program that was feeding people in rural areas.
Yes. Trump has defunded that.
So it's gone?
It's defunded, but it's not gone. Okay? You just gotta understand. You can, okay. So the school programs where I can literally go in and sell to the Board of Education. The way they challenge that is they say, well, we can buy those same products at a reduced price through a local distributor. Great. So now I just focus my attention to pantries and still feeding those kids every day. We prepare. We going back to a program that we started in 2016, which is Fridays. We meet the school buses and we give these kids that are coming off the school bus a box of food so they can eat over the weekend. Okay? Yeah. You just gotta adapt your tactics to the environment. But you always have to remember what is your goal. And that stuff I learned in the 60s, man. Yeah. See, people don't understand this. The beauty of the Black Panther Party, the beauty of civil disobedience in the 60s was it was not male dominated. Black communities have always been run co-equally. For example, you ready for this? When I came here in 2000 and I actually saw a male without children getting SNAP benefits or food stamps, I freaked out. I had never seen that. Like, what? What? Really? Black and brown communities, no. You know why? The goal was to break up the family. How do you break up a family? You make sure that the husband and wife or the male and the female are separated. That goes back to slavery. Policing, if you pay attention, see, I've studied police tactics since the 1600s. There's nothing new. It's the same formula. They just call them, in those days, they call it a militia. Now they call it a police force. Okay? Yeah.
Okay. We really are, like, I think we're well over an hour. Usually
God, yeah.
supposed to run an hour, but there was no way I was going to stop you from talking.
Dottie, an hour, you and me on the phone for you and I on these issues for an hour, get real.
That's why we're letting this one run. I say an hour like any one of these has ever lasted, just an hour. It gets people talking.
Yeah.
I do want to discuss before we go, like this is the last thing, because I always try to leave people with a hopeful note, some sort of call to action, but also a resource. Like we know that we need to build up our neighborhoods. Is there a place people can go? And when they turn off this podcast, they can go to the website, they can go to an address, someplace people can go to start taking the next step.
ACLU. They've been there from the beginning. I would say the NAACP, but it's so ineffectual in West Virginia that no. ACLU. Okay? Because think about what it stands for.
American Civil Liberties Union.
Civil liberties. Always remember that part. Because that's what you're talking about. Civil disobedience to intolerance. You're facing intolerance. You're facing privilege. You're facing segregation. And I'm not talking about race, just racial. I'm talking about economic segregation. Just look at it.
That is, it's one of those things I don't think, you don't see it till you see it, but once you've seen it, you can't ever unsee it.
Yeah. The best thing I've seen in the last 20 years, and it's going to shock you. You know what it was? The Women's March on Washington.
That was pretty amazing. I missed both of them. I wanted to go. We had the money, we had the hotel all set up. This winter's got my skin all broke out.
Yeah.
We had I made all these hats.
Yeah, you're great. I'm looking at this. Listen,
Yeah.
they would man. Have you ever been to San Francisco?
Not yet.
You need to go.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back, but I got this buzzing sound in the background. Do you hear it?
Nope.
But anyway, I'm going to be brief, which is hard for me. You're on the right path. ACLU, pay attention to what's going on tactically in Minnesota and Oregon. Reach out to those organizations. They will send you information on civil disobedience. Study civil disobedience. Study it. Because it's all been there. It's all there. Okay? It really is. And the United States has a great history that they don't want you to know about regarding civil disobedience. Eleanor Roosevelt. Look at the women's suffrage. Look at the black women in that were involved in with the abolitionists. Okay? Just really look at the stuff that they don't want you to look at. The same teacher I told you about, right? In the 5th grade, you know what she handed me when I was going to the 10th grade? A book entitled Before the Mayflower. Great. It gave me a whole perspective, a different way of looking at the slave trade, what it was really about. They also gave me a more globalist look at the whole thing. Africa, China, the trade route. Think about this. Only white males can come up with the concept that they discovered things. How in the hell can you say Marco Polo discovered a trade route that was already there. Chinese were trading with people in Western Africa 2,000 years before this cloud even hit China. Okay? Yeah. You just gotta, man, there's so much to read and to be introduced to. It's just crazy.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate
Dottie,
it.
we'll do it again. We'll do it again. And you're gonna teach me how to run one.
I will. If you want me to teach you how to set up,
I do, because we need to talk about agriculture, because I'm gonna end with this. When Trump did this, DEI, it allowed me to reach out to historically black colleges and universities. And I'm picking up so much information on agriculture, you would be amazed. Literally amazed.
if you want to start that podcast, I'll be glad to. I'll come over.
Oh God, I want to.
Get all this set up. It's not that hard. I found out on YouTube.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna probably do. Start on YouTube. I've got a little camera. I'm gonna use my phone until I can buy buy a better video equipment. But yeah, trust me.
Yeah, your computer's already got editing software. I know that when I first.
I've got a lot of. I have the entire Adobe suite, and I've been working with it since Adobe began. You know where I learned? At the Lancey Street. Okay. I used to do the help with the dailies. Okay. I designed logos for the Oakland A's, the San Francisco Giants, for all the sports teams up there. I designed logos and T-shirts and that sort of stuff for all the black colleges in the United States. So yeah.
That's really cool.
I've done a few things other than practice law. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But love that hat.
Thank you. I made that myself. We were gonna go to the women's march, the second women's march, not the first one.
Yeah.
But the Dottie the psychic. I'm a very spiritual person, and some of course I hang out with other spiritual people, and they were getting the bad vibes.
Okay. Dottie.
Couple people got the bad vibes, so we had to scrap. But we got all these cool hats.
Okay, Dottie, I'm gonna put it to you bluntly. You and your significant other, you guys need to get to San Francisco. You need a master's class, and just go to cafeteria or a coffee shop, because you guys will get a master class on civil disobedience. A master class. You want to talk about a community that knows how to do this with their eyes closed? Yeah. They got it down. Dottie, I need you to think about it. Every riot that I'd ever seen before the killing of Mayor Moscone, I was stunned, because these gay people went, no, we're not tearing up our neighborhood. It's too nice. We're going downtown. We're going to mess up Macy's, Nordstrom's. Okay? You want to mess with something? We'll mess with you. Okay? And guess what happened? They got immediate assistance. Okay? These people, I'm telling you, there's brilliance in civil disobedience. You just gotta find them. Pay attention to the Attorney General of Minnesota. You know why? He's one of the leading black attorneys on civil disobedience. That's why Trump can't win there. The guy knows too much shit. The guy's forgotten more than Trump's team will ever learn. Okay. Yeah. I hear something fell on her. I think so. I gotta go rescue my significant other. All right.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you for coming
too.
on.
All right. I'll see you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for watching. That was Norvill. I just kind of ran into him through the workplace. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Black History Month. Safe travel and much profit to you. Usually I just put a bumper here to make sure, to remind you all to like, share, and subscribe. Please do all of those things. And of course, check me out at dottiePsychic.com, where you can get your reading. I can do video call, I can do phone, I can do in person if you're around in West Virginia. But that's not what I want to end this video on. I'm going to tell you there are a lot of things you can do besides actively protesting. And when I mean actively protesting, I mean going to a protest. They're going on, and if you can get to one, you should. It is cathartic, and it is a great way to network with other people who want to see change in your area. But it can be daunting, and there is an inherent understanding that if you're going to go out and protest, there's a chance you're going to end up on camera where your boss can see you. There are a lot of other things you can do that are not putting yourself in in such a spotlight, we will say. Personally, I am working with Justice and Jubilee. We are doing TikToks where we have watchers, we have media managers, and we have social media experts, basically. We've got people who are sitting in the legislative sessions, they're sitting in the Senate, they're sitting into the House, they're sitting in the special sessions, and they are not special sessions, committees, that's the word. And they're listening for Christian nationalism. And then some of us are screen capturing those moments that they hear, and we're turning them into TikToks so that you can hear and see the Christian nationalism going in on our state. There are people who are registering. The registration to run for office has closed, but we've got a lot of new blue candidates that are going to need teams. Find somebody in your area that's running and figure out how you can support them. And, if your morals align, let's make a blue wave. Time. West Virginia is not the ruby red state that everybody says it is. We only went red back in right before the freaking drug epidemic rolled over us. Right before the drug epidemic rolled over us. I'm going to pause here.